Hey team, so thank you so much for joining me with this GLMV monster of a project. I just want to make sure that you guys had the proper instructions to do the work that needed to be done on each one of these. So what I'll do is I'll kind of walk you through the process, and I'm also making these videos so that you guys know how to set this up. All right, so once you're set up, you'll be able to start the drawing process. It's super simple. Once you've downloaded the files, the drawing files, the AutoCAD drawing files, just open up AutoCAD 2019 and open up the project file itself, okay? What I have on screen here, this is the order that things are going to be worked in, okay? So let me change gears here, and what we'll do is I'll kind of walk you through this process. So step one, you're going to go through and do the automated list routines. You're going to do this particular automation right here, okay? So it's the EC1 layers. They need to be merged onto the PN layers per Planon's requirements, okay? So once you're in the file, let's just start with Pittsburgh, PA1. It's simple. Just run that list routine, and the list routine is GLMV. They all start with GLMV. And then this one is lay MRG, okay? You're going to get a confirmation at the bottom of the screen saying successfully executed. So then you continue. The next item there on the spreadsheet here is eliminate the mText wrapping capability. Okay, so there's another list that handles that. It's GLMV wrap. Okay, so GLMV wrap. Okay, so you'll run it. It doesn't look like anything has changed, but you'll see the confirmation down here that it says that successfully executed GLMV wrap. So you're going to keep going, okay? The next one is GLMV justified. Now this one, you might notice something happen, and thanks to Bruce Johnson, he made a good suggestion here. So this one is GLMV justify. All right, so you might have noticed that the text kind of shifted, and that's intended, right? That's the intended behavior. It helps us to avoid having to move things manually later, which that's part of the manual process. All right, let's keep going. And the next one is this polyline overlap identifier, GLMV POID, polyline overlap identifier. So just type, I'm just going to show you the shortcut that I've been doing. If you type the back half of the command, it'll see the front half of the command. And as you can see here in my command prompt, it's prompting me for that particular command. So I'll just hit enter. And what it does, it's silent in the background, but it turns off all the layers except for these specific layers, and then it does this this calculation to figure out if it's overlapping. Okay. All right. So I just want to isolate what's happening here. Okay. And I'll show you that list routine that I got to clean this up real quick. I'll show you that later. So what's happening here is these are, let me see if I can get this. All right, so these are polylines. I just want to show you that these are just regular polylines. And what's happening here, and I want to copy this out into space for just a moment. What's happening here is these polylines, we're just trying to ensure that we're not getting false positives here. Okay, so what it does is it tries to find, for example, let me put a point, and I'm going to use my, what do I want? Polar tracking? Yeah, I want my polar tracking. All right, so if I just put a polar tracking here and a polar track, oh, I need a snap tracking too, don't I? There it is. Snap tracking, snap tracking. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting a point where that would typically be located. And let me make sure I'm on the right layer, guys. Make current, okay. And what it's doing is it's comparing the area of the polygon. For some reason I'm not getting that to come up. Let's see, line. Yeah, maybe I'll just do it with line instead. So I'll get that one and that one. It's getting the lower left-hand corner, and then it's also getting the upper right-hand corner as well. So what it's doing is it's trying to figure out, okay, where is this point? Oh, and I just reset all that. So here's one, and then here's the other one. and that's the location. So what it does, it says, okay, what's the area of this one, okay? So it understands when you have a closed polyline that there's an area. So what it then does is it uses the center point of this particular extremity of the polyline, the lower left corner and the upper right corner. And if this point right here, okay, this is the midway point between the two extremities, if that point is external, so if this shape was more like an L shape, it might throw, you know, the point out a little bit further, right? So if it was an L shape, it would throw that point out. It uses what's referred to as the boundary command, okay? I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. Boundary. And what it does, it says, okay, where do you want the boundary? So it picks by leveraging that point, and it figures out what that boundary is. Do you see how it selected that boundary? This is a different example. But had I used the midpoint over here, it would select nothing because it's not bound. It's infinite space, right? If I zoom out, there's nothing here. So what's happening then is you will get false positives on occasion, and it'll highlight these things yellow, okay? And it's important to understand when it's a false positive versus when there really is a problem and there's overlapping instances. So in this case, this particular rectangle, or whatever you want to call it, let me just move it off to the side a little bit so you can get a good look at what that shape actually looks like. So there's a jog in this line, and this guy, notice that we thought it might be a false positive, but now I'm seeing that when these are lined up together, there is in fact a little bit of a problem here. So what we have to do is we have to resolve this. This is part of the requirement for our client. In this case, I'll add the vertex, right? I've got a vertex, and then I'll pick the endpoint over there. Now this resolves at least that issue, and you just want to be thorough and ensure that you're not getting any more issues with how that's set up, okay? So this is the polyline, the closed polyline, or polygon, I should say, polygon overlap identifier. All right, so once you've got that taken care of, you can move on to the next list routine, okay? So let's go look at the list. That's Poid. I anticipate that you might spend some time here, and it might even fail because it may not find what it needs, and you'll get a weird message at the bottom saying nil or something like that. If that's the case, just make a comment and keep aggregating them. You keep moving, right? You just keep moving. If it's not working, you just keep moving, and we'll come back to it at the end. The next one that we're going to move on to is this one for the space numbers. So there's a piece of text in each one of the spaces, and it cannot contain more than 15 characters. I don't know why, but that's how it works. Anyway, the list routine, what it does is it analyzes not just the names, but also the numbers, the space number. No, it only analyzes the space number layer, okay? And it calculates to find out how many characters are in there, okay? So these guys. Give me 1 second, guys. I want to end the object isolation. Okay. So what this will do, 15C, just type 15C. You'll see the command pop up. It identifies any of the spaces, and it makes them yellow, as you can see here. It makes it yellow. It overrides it, and it even gives it a thickness when it finds that it's more than 15 characters. Okay. All right. So, and that's good. We want to leave it yellow. All right. Next one. You don't have to do anything after that. You don't have to mess with it. Next one, we're going to detect to see if there's any duplicate space numbers. This is also, when it finds a duplicate, it's going to make it yellow for every other instance. The original instance is going to stay by layer, but every copy is going to be yellow. So let's say there's 3. The first one will be green. The other 2 will be yellow. If there's 2, there will be 1 green and 1 yellow, or whatever the layer color happens to be. So it's going to override only the multiple instances, not the original instance. It's going to override that to yellow with a heavy line weight. Okay, so that's 15C, and the same thing happens with the next one, which is find duplicate mText. Okay, so what this is doing is it's looking for mText and text. I believe it's looking for both of them. and it's finding any duplicate instances. So FDM, find duplicate mText, and it launches, and it makes any duplicates yellow. Sometimes it will have some, sometimes it won't. We still need to run it regardless, okay? I can see that I got the confirmation message. It executed. Good, that's what we needed. Let's go back. These other two, you don't have to do these, okay? The 15,000 entity limit is already done for you. And if you run across a drawing that has a giant piece of text across it saying that it's 15,000 entities, I've already run this. I had to do it so I could scope this out. And so the files are already have already had this done. If you run across one of these files, we have to delete entities until we get below 15,000, okay? So let's say we were to delete half of the drawing and you needed to run this again to see if do we have less than 15. So erase the text, okay? And then run it again, GLMV, XV, and this will go in and detect, are there more than 15,000 entities? And as you can see, it dropped the piece of text right here. So what I've been doing is I've been just scaling it and getting it to show up really large. So you have to keep deleting entities until you get beyond the 15K limit, okay? It's a pain in the neck, I know, but that's essentially what we have to do. So what do you delete in this case, right? So the answer isn't simple. It's not a simple thing. So sometimes the walls will have, for example, a hatch pattern like concrete where there's lots of little lines, and you can delete those. Sometimes the drawing will have door jambs, which are not necessary, highly detailed door jambs. Sometimes the curtain wall will have highly detailed mullions. So we got to make these decisions together. If you have any questions on that, let me know. We'll work on this together towards the end. I expect that we'll save a lot of the stuff that's just laborsome for the end. All right? Okay, so that takes you through the automated routines, okay? So let's flip back over to the one that I had started. And what we'll do is now we're going to do the manual grind portion of this. And that's down here, okay? So this first one that we're going to do is we just want to work with the spaces and the nomenclature of the spaces. So I've got this list routine that will filter all that stuff out by using the AutoCAD hide, okay? Hide objects and isolate objects, okay? So let me show you what this does. You saw it earlier. I typed man filter. This is for manual filter. You saw me use this earlier, okay? This just prepares you for the manual stuff that you're going to have to do. It isolates the appropriate layers and only the appropriate layers, okay? Next, let's go look at the list. Next thing that we'll have to do is we'll have to correct the layer colors. I noticed that there was some problem with the layer colors and they weren't coming through properly. For example, this PN space numbers is not on the right layer. So I wrote a list routine that just corrects it. It's correct layer color CLC, GLMV CLC, okay? And that's the next one on this list, which is this guy right here. So all you have to do is run the CLC. You'll notice that those go from magenta to cyan. So these are the things that are cluing me in, guys, if they're done or not. This one doesn't have a confirmation message. So if you're seeing some weirdness, that's probably why. Okay, next, let's move on. Let's go back to our Excel file here. Select text styles, okay? So what this does is it's going to allow you to pick a piece of text. It's going to reset the current text style to whatever you picked and the same text height. I noticed that by default, these drawings, when you open them up, they're random, and I just wanted to make sure that we were consistent. So I wrote a list routine that allows you to select this text style, select text style, STS, and just ensure that you pick the right command, GLMV STS, and then just pick the piece of text, okay? And you can see the confirmation message at the bottom. It's telling you the text style was changed, okay? Next, this is the circulation area numbers, okay? This one's kind of tough to grasp If you have any questions, please feel free to get a hold of me. I've also explained this thoroughly to Colton, so Colton can give you guys some tips. Circulation areas, guys. So this is kind of hard to figure out because this isn't a very thorough example here with many options. However, on a large floor plan where you have, maybe I can find one. Oh yeah, so this is a good example here. So this guy. So here are hallways, okay? They're calling these, so here's a hallway, and you can kind of see how this is wrapped around over here. So these hallways, they have to be numbered. Most of them are not numbered to begin with, okay? So here, in this smaller example, I can see that I've got one circulation area, one hallway that is not numbered already, okay? So I have to number this one. And you typically want to start where the flow typically is in a building. Here I'm looking at the 3rd floor, okay? You're going to come up either the elevators or the stairs, and that's where you're going to start, you know, the numbering sequence, okay? So let's see. In this area, it looks like here's the stairwell, okay? This is the main entrance area, so this is where you would start numbering here. Hallway 1, hallway 2, hallway 3. And I'll show you how this works. Okay, so that one is this next routine here, RGMA. I don't remember what the logic was behind the nomenclature there, but RGMA is going to give us the hallway numbering scheme, okay? So what you have to do with this is very crucial. You have to look at the command prompt, and it's telling you what's the file's building f.h name. So this is talking about the nomenclature that you see here, okay? So down here you're looking at BLDG. That's this first portion. NetApp has hundreds of sites, and each one of them has its own name. This one in particular for Pittsburgh, its building name is PTC. Sometimes there's multiple buildings in the same campus, so you'll see PTC 1, PTC 2. Then the dot signifies the dot is the floor number, and then you want to make sure that you have H for hall, okay? So what you would do is you would type the command prompt PTC, make sure it's capitalized, it's case sensitive, .1.h, okay? Oh, capital H. So that will give us the nomenclature to begin with. All right. So next you hit enter or spacebar, and it's asking you to specify a start point for the text. Well, just pick anywhere in the hall that makes sense to you, and then that's how it works. Now, if there's another hall that you have to go number, just repeat the command. It's going to remember that that prefix, and then you can continue numbering to the next hall, which would be perhaps over here, and then another one over here, and then another one over here. The only thing that they required from us is that that we don't renumber, or we don't number the spaces between the cubicles, okay? So this is kind of tough to see in this one. There's not cubicles, but if these were the cubicle, if this were the cubicle area here, you would not number this hallway between the cubicles. The circulation areas, these large hallways, would be numbered, but not between the cubicles, okay? If you think it's a close call, ask me, ask Colton. We'll work through it with you. However, these large circulation areas that go around, you know, the main core, and sometimes even around the shell, you'll want to number those. Okay. All right. So that's the GLMV RGMA. Okay. Now the other thing is you can also use a portion of this that I've built to restart. So let's say that you've numbered and you made a mistake there, and you're like, oh, I need to reset my numbering scheme now. So I have GLMV reset, which will reset the numbering scheme, the 001. Okay. So if you make a mistake, you can reset it. I found that I've been making a lot of mistakes, and I had to reset on a few occasions. So I made a list routine to reset it. So now if I run RGMA, it'll start again with the number 001, and it'll continue incrementing them by one integer. Okay. All right. So let me bring you back to the list here. Okay. So that's RGMA, the reset will help you reset that, and you're going to want to reset, especially when it comes to renaming duplicate room numbers, okay? So this isn't the best example here, but I got another one. Let me go pull one from this other file that I was looking at earlier, okay? So let's say we've got, so this guy is the space number, and then this guy is the EC1 space. Okay, that's not the right one. Copy. I think this is the one. Yeah. Okay, space names and space numbers. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this and put it in a new file. I want to show you and illustrate what's going to happen. There will be occasions, for example, on elevator shafts. Sometimes you're going to find multiple instances of the same room name. Now, I have one of the Lisp routines that when it finds the same room name, it's going to make it yellow, okay? And that's one of these right here. Duplicate space numbers, FDM. So if it finds a duplicate, you're going to see them standing out at you, staring you in the face. They're going to be yellow, except the first copy. It's not going to be the right layer, right? So let me go over here and make sure that these are yellow. All right. So what's going to happen here, where you have the duplicate names for the rooms, you're going to have to increment them, okay? So I have another automation routine that's going to help you with that, okay? That's this guy right here. Renumber duplicate room names, okay? So it's called IDRN, okay? So if I type IDRN, you'll see that the Lisp routine pops up. And then, so it's asking you to select the first instance. So here, I'll just select it. All right, okay. So here we are with multiple instances. What we need, sorry guys, I had, that Lisp routine is looking for a specific layer. If it's not on that layer, it's not gonna let you select it and change it. That's what the failure was. All right, so here we need to IDRN. And it's asking us to select the first instance, and as you can see, when I do that, it automatically increments it by one integer, right? So once we're done with this, and you may have several of them that are duplicates. It might be you have elevators, you might have storage, you might have copy room, you might have reception in several areas, you may have stairwells in several areas, right? So you just make sure that you're finding them, okay? So here's a suggestion. Use the Quickselect tool. This is in the properties palette. Use the Quickselect tool, okay? And if you want to find all the stuff that's on a color yellow, you can use that one, right? It identifies the yellow stuff for you, okay? So that's one tip. Another tip is, let's say you find copy mail and it's, you know, embedded in, for example, one of these larger drawings, and you don't know which one to go look at. So let's say you wanted to find every instance of 1,300 square feet, 1,329 square feet, right? Yes, here, 69.8 square feet. So let's say that's the thing that you were looking for, 69.8 square feet. So you can use the find command, okay? And you can put 69 point, what was it? I don't even remember. I'm going so fast here. 69.8, okay? So find 69.8. And you want to ensure that you have the list results turned on, okay? And then you just find them, okay? So it'll tell you how many it's found. And then you can use the double window over here to create a selection set. And it's going to do something interesting. It's going to go find that specific instance. So let's say you didn't know where the stairs were, although you found a yellow one that said stairs. You don't know where the other green instance is of the duplicate name, right? So there's 3 of them, but 2 of them are yellow. The first one is still green. So this is where I would use the find command to go find those instances. And then I would select them. Now I can work with it, and I can fire off that Lisp routine that would allow me to increment the numbers, okay? So that's the duplicate, renumber duplicate room names, IDRN. The next one will allow you to reset, okay? So let's say, for example, I'll go back to that file I had open earlier, okay? So let's say I had not just copy mail, but let's say I had elevator and stairs, okay? And stairs. So I want to show you some nuances here. This is important. All right, so if I run that again, right? So let's copy these. Let's say I had several instances of stairs. Let's say I had a couple of instances of elevator. These are all yellow, and because of the list that we ran earlier, these are all yellow, right? So I found these, and okay, now I got to take care of elevator. So if I continue with the Lisp routine to renumber them, IDRN, okay? So what this will do is it'll continue the numbering sequence, right? And this is the first instance. I want that to be 0. So, but it's just going to continue. So that's where I would undo a couple of steps and then do the GLMV reset, okay? So that would be this guy right here that we're looking at. Reset the numbering scheme, okay? GLMV reset. Okay. Now I can run it. GLMV IDRN. It stands for increment duplicate room name. So here I go stairs, and then I can repeat it, and then repeat it again, and then repeat it again. So this will help you, instead of typing it in right manually every time, whatever you feel more comfortable doing, I'm just going to encourage you to do that. This is just one utility that will help you, but understand that they need those leading zeros. It's very important for their, I don't know, for their purpose. I think what they're doing is they're mapping the space and then the room number, but it has to be 2 characters. So just understand, if you're going to do it manually, ensure you have the leading zeros. If you're going to do it with this routine, just make sure that you're using the reset, okay? So that's one thing. All right, and then another one is to reset color by layer, okay? So what this does is it isolates just the text from room names and resets it. So VCR. All right. So you'll see that the yellow, the stuff that we had changed yellow to get our attention, it's now been changed. Okay, so let me reset this again. GLMV reset. And then let me go in and renumber them. Renumber copy / mail. All right, so that's IDRN, increment duplicate room number, or room name rather. So, and then reset. So just get in the habit of resetting, and it'll help you. It'll help you with the next thing, the next task that you're going to do. The reset is used for 2 different Lisp routines. It's reused for the duplicate room numbers, but it's also using it for the circulation areas. Okay, so both of these Lisp routines use the reset so that you can start the renumbering sequence over. Okay, and then you just saw the resetting the text that's yellow back to the right layer color. And then finally, I want to show you this one, resetting the polyline color and the line weight, okay? So in our example here, where we were finding, you know, that we had these overlapping polylines, to reset these, you could manually go in here and select the, you know, these guys and go, okay, now I want to make sure that this is, you know, by layer, and I want to make sure that the line weight is also by. You can do that, okay? What I'm saying is you don't have to do that. I've already got one that's ready here for you. So if you want to take advantage of it, I've got this Lisp routine here. It's reset color and line weight. So reset poly color and line weight. That's this guy right here. So reset color, line weight, RCLW, and then it's going to ask you to make a selection. I'm just going to encourage you not to be tempted to select the whole thing. Be selective, because if you have text that you haven't dealt with yet, that's yellow, it's calling your attention, it's also going to affect that. So be very selective. If you need to, just click on the one item and when you hit enter, it resets that for you. Okay, so that's the automation that I've developed for the tasks. If there's other things, guys, that you guys want to see to help along, let me know. I can probably write a Lisp for that pretty quickly and turn that around for the entire team. But this is our QA/QC. This last table down here, this is our QA/QC. And let me just write that QA/QC. I'll update this file on our shared drive. But what we need to do is we need to do these following things before we turn them over to the client. We need to ensure that the text info is inside of the polygons, okay? So what we're doing here is we're looking at the text info, and it's like, oh, but the text info, it's on the insertion point. And we've run a justify Lisp routine earlier that changed it from middle center, okay? We've changed it from the middle center, which is the typical default on almost all these drawings, to left justify per their instructions, okay? That's why we're justifying that. So here's the insertion point now on the left. You just need to make sure that it's not, you know, like if it might be just on the border there, just ensure that it's not, push it in, okay? And then I'm looking around, okay, this is good, these are good, these are good. Now you might, Colton brought this to my attention, you may find that there's multiple that are in the same space. Just understand that what this is, if you ever see one that says GMA, it stands for gross measured area. And what it's talking about is this outer perimeter, this guy on the outer perimeter way out here, okay? All right, so the rest of them look okay to me. Oh, and I got a duplicate hall in here, so I don't want that hall. Just do your check here. Here's another hall. I want to get rid of that one. I think that was when I was demonstrating how the hall works, the circulation area works. Okay, so just do your due diligence. Ensure that you've got, you know, some quality in there where you don't have them, you know, overlapping. Now, on some of these areas where there's cubicles, they're very small, and some of these are going to bleed into the next area. And what I mean by that is, for example, let's say that this here was a cubicle, okay? And let's say that we had our tag, but notice it's within on the left, but it's bleeding over to the right. So this is fine. If you had to put another one right next to here, like this, I would rather that sorry, hang on. I'm moving things instead of copying them. So if you had to put another one, or if there is another one rather, wow, I can't get my copy going here. All right, there we go. If you have another one that's stacked like this, I would rather that you just kind of move it up, move the other one down, and make it clear so that when you have the next one, the next space name in the adjoining room, it won't be hard to read, right? So in this example, you know, it's not very clear because these aren't cubicles, but just ensure that you've got it within the appropriate space. It's okay if it bleeds into the next one. What's important is the insertion point, okay? And sometimes you're going to find like these little tiny sliver spaces, like a closet or something. It's really tiny, and it's hard to fit. It's hard to fit that insertion point in there. So just play around with it as you go through the drawings. Okay, and let's get back to our QA/QC. That was this first one. Number corridors. So this should have been taken care of already by the by this Lisp right here, the manual grind part of this. Okay, should have been taken care of already, but use this as your opportunity to ensure that you've got all the halls and not the spaces between the cubicles. Okay, that's important. And just give yourself a chance to ensure that you've got, you know, all of the circulation areas numbered, starting with 0, 0, 1, and you know all that. So this is our QA/QC for numbering the corridors. Also, you're going to find this in some of the drawings. I might have an example with one of these guys. All right, so let's turn some of these on and off. So I want to select. Yeah, here we go. So every once in a while, you're going to see that they've got this PN space, this layer out here called. So this one, this EC1 area polygons one of the first Lisp routines you run changes this to a different one called pn space GMA. Okay, so what you want to do is only the exterior one is going to be on that layer. All of the other ones are going to be on the polygons layers, the same one as this one. So to take care of that, and I haven't run my GMA here yet, so let me run that now. GLMV lay merge. Okay. All right, so here we've got the pn-area GMA, and then we've got all these other ones called space polygons. None of these interior ones are on the same layer. There's only one that's on the GMA layer. It's the exterior. So if you find any of these other orange ones within, and this is going to happen consistently throughout all the drawings, here is a manual tip that will help you, okay? Again, from the Properties palette, use the Quickselect tool, okay? Select everything on that layer and there's different ways to do this. I found this to be one of the most easiest ways. So make sure that you get the pn-area GMA. Select all of those, and then just simply deselect, shift-click to deselect, okay? Shift-click deselects, and then just change the layer to pn space polygons, okay? So that's this manual task, which is the third manual task. Ensure only exterior space is GMA, okay? And what we're talking about is only this exterior space is going to be on pn-area GMA. The rest of them are going to be on the pn-space space polygons. All right, so that's the penultimate manual task. And then renumber duplicated rooms. Again, this should have been taken care of by this time. It should have already been done. Just ensure that you don't have any yellow text that's drawing your attention. Reset that color back to by layer using this guy right here, the reset color by layer, VCR, GLMV okay? And then, so just ensure that you've got all of the duplicate names, all your elevator shafts, your stairwells, reception areas, and copy rooms, and sometimes office is just labeled as office. Sometimes you'll have to go in and renumber those as well. All right, guys, so that kind of brings a close to this. I'm going to stop here. I don't want you guys to run either of these two Lisps. I'm going to make another video talking about these two later when we get further down, okay? All right, guys, I hope this video is helpful with your tasks as you're going through these. If you don't know how to load the Lisp routines, I'm going to show you in another video how to do that. I'll be doing that right now.